Alright geezers, what's up? Speci here, and today we've got the patch notes for 10.3. It's coming out tomorrow. There's lots of really cool changes, including Wild Hunt, Elves, Fire Sworn. I'm going to be posting a video tomorrow with a deck for every faction, so make sure you look out for that. And also don't forget that I do stream on Twitch pretty much every day, certainly, you know, with the new patch coming out. About 3:30 PM GMT every single day, so come check us out over there if you want to see some more Gwent stuff from myself. Alright, let's just crack on, because there's a lot to get through. First up, we've got Gwent, which has had its adrenaline condition change from 3 to 4. So obviously the adrenaline condition, you know, basically you can just play this a turn sooner with a shield. That's a big buff to one card in particular, Arnagad, mate. Arnagad plus Quen is a really nice combo. I'm really glad to see Gwent get buffed. I would love to see a few more Witcher buffs though. Like, this isn't really just going to be enough to like revitalize those decks. But Arnagad, Gezras, like there's some big Witcher targets, like anything you want protected with a shield. Gives it like an extra turn, which is a pretty big deal. Like, adrenaline changes can actually make a much bigger difference than it might first seem. Magic Lamp is now a token. This should have probably happened a while ago. This is like a catch-up thing. If you're wondering why does that matter, well, if you're playing against Clog, they can no longer clog your Magic Lamps. That's pretty nice. Triangle within a triangle has also had its provisions changed to 8. So triangle within a triangle, TWAT for short. Which is apparently actually a pretty rude word. I remember getting told off a lot for saying that one time back in the day. Anyway, it's 8 provisions now. It's a spell card, so it's Alza. So that's pretty cool. I'm assuming there is still like some kind of spell card at 9 provisions. I can't think of one off the top of my head though. Ragnarok, there you go. Curse of Corruption, Yennefer's Invocation. So there's quite a few. But yeah, Alza, Gerhardt as well. That's going to be another option in at 8. This is actually a pretty interesting change because this card is not that bad. It's never really been super competitive. I remember when it first was released, Keltalis decks were maybe quite interested in this one. Could maybe see it creeping into there. It's kind of an interesting Francesca target as well if you've got like a 12 or 13 provision kind of card. Like, ideally you would use this in your own card for guaranteed value, but then you can also use it as removal. So I mean, it's certainly more of a realistic option at 8 provisions. And as a neutral, you wouldn't be too surprised to see it creep into a couple of decks, maybe? Probably not, but I wouldn't be too surprised, again, if we do see it. Alright, there's the neutral changes, not that many. Monsters, lots of changes in monsters. We've got Oberon, first and foremost. Now, Oberon is obviously the big Wild Hunt boy. I'm just going to type Wild Hunt in here so we can have a little look at all those cards. Oberon here, it's his 3rd evolution that's changing. So at the moment, the only difference between the 2nd and the 3rd one, which is the big devotion payoff, is that he's going to boost the Wild Hunt cards by 1 whenever you play them. He's still doing that, but you also just now get to choose from your starting deck on this Conqueror one and the final one. What that means is if you've got Wild Hunt Riders in your Wild Hunt deck and you've mulliganed them until round 3, you can then go Oberon Conqueror in round 3, guaranteed into Wild Hunt Rider, because it's going to be in your starting deck, and then bang, you're just slamming a bunch of Wild Hunt Riders down on the board, which is really damn cool. Wild Hunt Riders are a card that I kind of moan about quite a lot, but they're finally good, I would say, in this Wild Hunt deck. They've got to be, right? They've got to be. How many points is that? So you're getting 8 points thin from the deck, and then obviously like the 5 points from Oberon and 5 points from the Rider that you play, because it's going to get boosted. Potentially by 2 as well. Like, obviously if you've got Frost in the opposite row as well, in a white Frost deck, that's 2 more points. So let's say that this is 6 points. The first Rider you play is also 6, that's 12. And then the 8 points from the deck, 20 points. And it's an engine. Like, this is boosting your other cards, right? That's a lot of points, mate. So that's pretty damn cool. Excited to see that. Obviously, it just means as well, like, if you need to purify at that exact moment, you've got it. If you need a Berserker at the Bruise or whatever, you can just maximize your points. It's a pretty big deal. Cool. Eredin, 7 power. So Eredin's got a point. Point might not seem like much, but 7, you know, is a lot more difficult to remove than 6. There's cards like Parasite, of course. So yeah, nice change and like it. All right, this one is my favorite one. I hope I'm allowed to say this. I kind of had a little bit of input on this change. There was some feedback I gave. A lot of you guys know I love Were Rat, and its order spawns a number of rats on the row equal. Basically, what always annoyed me about the Were Rat is the fact that you'd click the Were Rat, and you would fill the row with rats, but let's say it was at like 50 power, it would reset all the way to 6. Now that has changed, where it is spawning a number of rats on this row equal to the amount of boost on self. Then lose a point for each rat spawned. So if you spawn 7 rats, it loses 7 points. It doesn't just reset. That's the part I kind of suggested, which is, it's pretty cool. So thanks CPR for listening to my feedback. That means a lot. Also, cooldown 1. Before the end of your turn, consuming units are right. Now, what? Is this not what it did before? Well, no, actually. Because before, if you were to eat a succubus with this, for example, the succubus would not come back. But now it will. That's right. Whereat, succubus, ruin, like these decks with the Rat King are now a real possibility. So look out for that. This card should not be slept on. This card should not be slept on. Succubus decks, mate. They're going to be good. I think they're probably decent anyway. Deathwish has like struggled recently. It just hasn't really had that little bit of oomph. But Succubus, Detlaf, Ruin, like they're options that you now have with this Were-Rat buff. And also it got buffed in Swarm. So it's like 2 separate decks that got pretty significant buff on Were-Rat, honestly. Like the card is now good in both decks, whereas before it was like not really that good. So they got a new card, kind of. Really happy with this one. Cool. Winter Queen, big change, mate. Devotion ability has changed to once both players have passed, boost self by 2 for each turn of frost remaining on the opponent's side. Okay, so its devotion ability has changed to once both players have passed, boost self by 2 for each turn of frost remaining on the opponent's side. Now, I was actually under the understanding that this card was working slightly differently than the patch notes were saying. I was of the understanding that this card was actually going to be summoning on the row, like whenever there's frost on both rows, it was going to summon even from the graveyard. But it doesn't say that here. So seeing that's not the case, but there might be like something in the comments if that gets proven or not. That's just maybe I misread that earlier. So if his devotion has only changed, it's not that big a change, to be honest. I think there's more to it. I'm going to skip this one because like the comments will tell you more. Basically, if this is its only change, it's a buff. It's better than Thrive, right? It's definitely better than Thrive. It also means you can use like Ardgaith to catch up. Like that's actually a really big deal, right? Like let's say your opponent passes, you could slam Ardgaith. It's going to deal 4 damage. Your Winter Queen's going to come out, so that's 8 points. But then it's also going to boost by 2 for each turn of frost remaining. It's going to boost by 8 more points. That's a lot of points. Very good. But I think there's something else to it. Anyway, moving on. Chimera, another swarm / consume hybrid beast, Morvard. Like crossover card. Really good synergy with Were-Rat. Its adrenaline's changed from 4 to 5. Got a big change. This probably should have happened many moons ago, to be completely honest. But I love it still. Like there's a massive, like the adrenaline on this card felt so awkward, man, for so long. Because it's a whole turn that you get to just make your sequencing so much smoother. You probably have 2 chimeras, maybe even 3 in hand. You get me? So like it just is a big change to the card. Where are you going to use chimera? Well, Araka Swarm, which to be honest hasn't really been performing too well recently, but man, you know, they just get a bit of a buff with this. Not really in terms of like raw points. Chimera really is thriving. Well, it's not thriving, but it's doing well in Beast Swarm decks with the Rat King, with Plague Maiden, with Morvard. Those decks do still feel very awkward though, but maybe with like the change to Were-Rat, you could get like some Succubus going because you get Succubus off the Dol Duloc, which is the location. You also get you can put like Plague Maiden on top of your deck so you can Coranth through it, for example. You can get Succubus off of that. Obviously that just changed with there's quite a lot going on, you know, you never know. Definitely one to give a to try out. Red Riders, this is a massive change, mate. Red Riders, another Wild Hunt card. At the moment it's working like a mini Ardgaith. That has changed. And bear in mind, Ardgaith just got a lot better in Devotion decks for that reason we just talked about with Winter Queen. So Red Riders before, you could spread the cheeks of your opponent and spawn 2 frosts on both rows, or you could spawn frost on one row for 4 turns. But that has changed. You can still spread the cheeks of your opponent and do the exact same It's just the precision, it's called. Like, the option precision has changed. Rather than spawning Frost on an enemy for 4 turns, you now spawn Frost on an enemy for 2 turns, but you replay a Bronze Wild Hunt unit. Replay would mean from your graveyard, I would assume. As opposed to... I mean, maybe you're replaying as in, like, let's say you've got a Navigator on the board, which, by the way, did just change. Maybe if you've got a Navigator on the board, you're picking the Navigator up and playing it again. Okay, I'm actually not 100% sure. I kind of assume this was Resurrect, but it doesn't say Resurrect, does it? It says Replay, which is more like a decoy kind of effect. It's definitely a buff. Make no mistake. Like, make no mistake. It's definitely a buff, especially with Winter Queen buff as well, right? Like, this card got buffed twice. Slizzard, 4 provisions, 4 power. I like it. Like, to be honest, what I would have probably preferred to have seen is the card that's played off Haunt, the Banshee buffed, because that was already 4 provisions. Problem with that is they're buffing Haunt, but Haunt deserves a buff. I probably would have just preferred to see Banshee get buffed at 4 provisions and then Size would maybe like give it an extra power. That could also be quite scary to make it. But it's more easy to remove now, which is not a good thing necessarily for Slizzard. Like, if you were to try and play Slizzard in Videx, it does mean you get 2 extra provisions, but it also means your consumer is more easy to kill. So you could make a case to say it's a nerf. Personally, I do think it's a buff. But I know I spoke to Shinmir about this, and Shin was like not so keen on this change. I quite like it though, honestly. Wild Hunt Navigator, its ability's changed. So the Navigator is the boosty lad at the moment. 3 power, 4 provisions. That looks like it's staying the same. It's going to boost an allied unit by the duration of Frost on its opposite row. However, if you have Dominance, it's going to boost an allied unit by the total duration of Frost on the opposite side of the battlefield. So this is really cool. At the moment, obviously it's like a maximum of 7 for 4 because you boost by 3 and you play it opposite to Frost in a White Frost deck, and it's 7 points. Now, to achieve 7 points, you're just going to need, 4 turns of Frost on the opponent's side of the battlefield? It's actually quite a lot of Frost needed, isn't it? That is quite a lot of Frost needed. It's actually quite a lot. So if you, let's say you odd gave, and there's 4 turns of Frost, you play your Navigator with Dominance as well needed, and then you can boost, for example, your Winter Queen by 4 points. Doesn't seem great, does it? I mean, mate, it's 4 provisions. That's a lot of points. It's gonna make your sequencing maybe a little bit awkward. Again, with the Red Riders being able to replay a Bronze Wild Hunt unit, that has got a lot of synergy with the Red Riders, because you're going to be able to replay the Navigator like straight away, meaning that the 2 turns of Frost you've just put down will stick, because obviously a lot of the time you play Frost, it's going to tick. If you've got Frost on 2 rows, you're losing 2 points to the Navigator. But it's interesting. I like it. It also like gives you some extra reward if you've got too much weather. Like sort of like Ancient Foglet as well, but like a cheaper version with the Wild Hunt tag. Obviously, it's an option off of Oberon as well. All right, it's definitely a buff. Wild Hunt Warrior, but there's also some situations this can be less points, right? But not really. You're going to play this on a White Frost deck, so Wild Hunt Warrior ability is also changed. So Wild Hunt Warrior is 3 power, 4 provisions. On deploy, it's going to damage an enemy unit by 2, which is a point more than previously. And if you have Dominance, also spawn Frost for 1 turn on that unit's row. So you're only dealing 2 damage, but you're also spawning 1 turn of Frost. So it's 3 power, you deal 2, that's 5. You spawn Frost, that's 2, that's 7 points. Plus the Wild Hunt tag in a White Frost deck is 8. Because this will also spawn... If you let's say, damage a card in the melee row and you play the warrior in the melee, then bang, it's going to boost itself. So it's actually like almost a guaranteed 8. As long as you have Dominance. I like it. I do. They've done some information on the thoughts behind it. In the past several months, Wild Hunt had their moments, but it's been a while since On L were a very popular choice among Monsters players. In 10.3, we're introducing a bunch of changes that should make the Frost archetype feel better to play. The reworked cards include the ones players weren't interested in playing in their deck, such as Navigator or Warrior, but there are also improvements, including more flexibility on the final stage of Oberon. Players will be able to pick any Wild Hunt unit. Yeah, cool. We also decided to change Winter Queen. From now on, she can protect you from wasting value on Frost if your opponent decides to pass. We replaced Thrive with this ability, as Wild Hunt's main strategy is not reliably triggering Thrive, and we hope that this ability will help Frost deck with one of their biggest weaknesses, which is low tempo when applying weather. Regardless of the success of those changes, we want to continue supporting Wild Hunt in the future. Now, I am still under the impression, at the time of recording, I cannot confirm or deny that this is not the... I thought this worked differently. So, my understanding of Winter Queen is that, regardless of if you're Devotion or not, if you spawn Frost in both of your opponent's rows, it's going to summon itself, much like a Redanian ship would, you know? When you get 9 coins, it flies out. If it's in the graveyard, if it's in the deck, it's irrelevant. And then the dominance is this part. Don't quote me on it. I could be sorely mistaken. But yeah, that was my understanding before I start recording the video. I'm doing it in one take because I'm trying to upload it quickly, so I don't have time to check. All right, forgive me. Moreover, we added a small pack of buffs to the consume cards. The most notable changes here is Where At. Due to how the end of turn abilities are resolved in Gwent, Where At didn't work with some of the Death Wish cards, such as Serena Succubus. To bypass that interaction, we're now changing to trigger before end of turn. Top of that, Where At will no longer fully reset when clicking the order. Let's go. Now, the amount of lost points equal to the number of rats spawned. Cool. Maybe we should read like this bit first and then look at the changes, right? NR. Guys, I'm not going to lie. NR is the least I've enjoyed NR ever right now with Alumni. Dead. Hate it. But these changes, popping off. Excited. Like, this is my Northern Realms, mate. Not this flipping Merlin and mages. And I like a mage, but yeah, not Alumni. Northern Realms get a minor buff for the King Belahan strategy. The King himself has better stats. Cohen no longer boosts enemies. When we released Cohen, we hoped that having to play around the opponent's board could be a fun way of playing the card, but since players are not interested in Ronin, we made it easier to use. Top of that, Siege Mask now costs 5 provisions. Oof. This card's seeing a lot of success and shouldn't be so easy to include considering what it offers and how easy it is to use. As small compensation for the cooldown decks, we also added an order ability, and due to popular requests, we made him jump out on the left side rather than the right side to make him crew less awkward. Cool. All right, Cohen. That was a lot. Maybe we should just look at the changes first and then read the text, innit? Cohen's changed. So at the moment, Cohen reverse Shiru in a lot of ways. Boost all other units with power equal to Cohen's power by the amount he's boosted. So you will have recently seen me use him in an Arch Griffin deck. Problem with Cohen in a lot of other decks, the Arch Griffin deck not really being a big one, is he boosts your opponent's cards. So a popular strategy when this card was first released to try and get it to work was to use it in Devotion Northern Realms with Varaxis when cards like that were very popular, as Varaxis had just come out, I think, at the same time as Cohen. And you would just get lots of cards to maybe like 7 strength, 8 strength with like your Varaxis, your Defender, whatever else it might be, right? And then you just boost all those cards. Just get Cohen up to like 7 strength and you just boost. Problem is, if without damage, you might also boost your opponent's 7 power cards. That's no longer the case. So for like these mid-rangey decks, Cohen's a lot better. It isn't a buff really to the Arch Griffin deck because I didn't care about it. But like Cohen, as soon as this card was printed, is a card that I thought would be banging. And it's a card that I want to try and get to work. So this is a change I'm really, really excited for. Belahan as well synergizes with him. King Belahan. Guys, this card's not actually that bad, mate. All right, this card's not that bad. I know it's a bit of a fan favorite. Probably going to be a day 1 deck that I'm going to play. Look out for that video tomorrow. Power is now 6. Again, we've talked about it already. 1 point of power is a big deal because it's more difficult to remove. It's no longer dying to boiling or thunder. It's going to take something like a parasite, right? And it also got a buff to the amount of points it's boosting by. In non-devotion, at the moment, it's setting everything to 4. And in devotion, it's setting everything to 5. It's now non-devotion, setting everything to 5. And in devotion, setting everything to 6. 6 is a big number, mate. So you can have your Belahan chilling in the back row. Then you slam your Cohen. And suddenly Cohen's at 6 points. That's a pretty big deal, mate. Like, that is a big deal. Because Cohen, of course, is boosting everything with equal power by the amount he's boosted. So you're basically getting 1 more point on everything you would play from Belahan, but you're also then getting 1 more point on every card you buff with Cohen. So if you boost 6 cards of Cohen, that's 6 more points just from this one little change. So it's a lot of points, mate. It really, really, really is. Is Belahan going to be meta? No. No, probably not. Almost definitely not. But this card is certainly a lot more compelling to build a deck with. And I know it's a fan favourite, guys. I love a bit of King Belahan too, so I'm excited. What leader? Mate, you can't really look past Inspired Zeal because of Vengeance still, to be completely honest. But there's also a case for Shield Wall, right? Protecting your Belahan, protecting your Cohen. Radovid as well, you know, like, could also help. So, yeah, I think I'm going to try some Shield Wall with these guys, to be fair. Obviously, the Archgriffin deck with Pincer as well, where you can use Cohen. Would you use Belahan in that deck now? Probably not. Probably not. All right, Siege Master change as well. Guys, thank Lord Jesus, Siege Master, Mage Assassin, Skirmisher from Skellige. They all got flipping nerf, guys. This is so good. I'm so happy. So, Mage Assassin, Skirmisher, Siege Master most recently, all 4 provision cards within the deck. They just became auto-include. And the problem with that is it dumbs down deck building significantly, because it's no longer which package of cards is the best to include for this particular deck. It's just this card is good, it's in the deck. You look at Blightmakers, Mage Assassins, Siege Masters most recently, just being played in alumni decks, and discard package in every single Skellige deck pretty much for the last few months. That's all changed. Siege Master is now 5 provisions, so it essentially costs you something to put in your deck. If a card has 4 provisions, it doesn't cost you anything because you can't include a 3 provision card, right? It is the cheapest possible card you can play, but as soon as a card costs 5 provisions, it's actually costing you something to put it into your deck. So yeah, you would imagine that this is not just going to be in every single NR deck anymore. If it is, that's how you know it was OP. I don't think it will be. It's definitely like less so than Skirmisher and Mage Assassin. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if those cards still see a lot of play. Siege Master should, I would imagine, just be more in Siege decks. Cool. As it should be, right? It's got an order as well now, so it's also flying out to the left. That is quite a big deal for some crew cards, right? Like, Stockpile puts volunteers to the right, for example. This is putting stuff to the left. So that's nice. Definitely nice. Pincer Maneuver too. Like Pincer Maneuver, if you wanted to get some kind of siege, some kind of crew pocket. Anyway, its order reduces an allied unit's cooldown by 1. Nice. Alright. It's not a big order, but it's an order. So I like this change a lot. I think rather than just nerfing it to 5, still giving it like some cooldown synergy. Because that's like 2 points kind of with Henselt as well, right? If you've got Henselt down there, next to the card that you reduce the cooldown of, that's +1 on him. Obviously, like, 1 cooldown can be more than 1 point. 1 cooldown could be the difference between your Shani being used twice or not. So, yeah, I really like the change. Massive. In fact, this is my favourite change, just nerfing these 4 provision cards, because, I just didn't like them at 4 provisions. Hadn't for a long time. Scoia'tael, mate. Scoia'tael, it looks like elves. Alright. These are ones I haven't looked at that much, to be honest, compared to some of the others. So, yeah, let's Scoia'tael elves. First and foremost, we have Teruviel. Her power is now 4. That's fine, Teruviel. She's 8 provisions, I want to say, at the moment. So she's 5 power, 8 provisions at the moment. She's now 8 provisions and 4 power. What the heck? They nerfed her. No. They've added a new part of her ability. If you control an Elven Dead, I use both. Oh, Lord. That's a massive buff, guys. If you control an Elven Deader, which obviously, spoiler alert, you do, because of the leader ability, you can just spawn one. Yeah, you can use both abilities, but she lost a point. So, let's just say you were always going to use the ranged ability for maximum points, damage your units in enemy row by 1. So, before, that was 14 points, yeah? Now, that's going to be 13 points, because she's 4 power, but you're also going to damage enemy units at the end of a row by 2. So 4. Basically, she got 3 extra points. But also, like, more than that, because it's like hard removal, right? Like, you're damaging basically the things at the end of the row by 3 now. It's a big deal. Very cool. Verno is now 11 provisions. Nice. Verno's a great card, obviously, in any deck that swarms Deadeyes and stuff. Flexible card. Yeah. Glad that she got a provision. She deserved it. Dol Plothana Archer is obviously a card you can pull off of Harvest. It was 5 power, 5 provisions. It's still 5 provisions, but it's now 2 power. Its ability is now damage an enemy by 3 in the front row. So 1 extra point of damage, but 3 points less. Bit weird, but, you know, we're going to wait. Ranged, damage 2 enemy units by 1. And Death Blow, spawn an Elven Deadeye on this row. Okay, so you get another Deadeye, so it's kind of swarming the deck, like it's an extra point for Verno, like if you're to front row for like Isengrim as well, like any kind of swarm type payoff card, you're getting 2 bodies instead of 1. It obviously lost 3 power, but it's gaining 3 power from the... But I've lost it from the Deadeye, so it basically got an extra point of damage in the front row, and I think nothing changed here. I'm assuming you can only spawn 1 Deadeye, and that you can't spawn 2. Interestingly as well, what you could do with this card is you could damage one of your own cards. Oh no, it's damage enemy units by 1. Okay, you can't damage your own stuff. But I'm assuming you can't get 2 Deadeyes, but maybe you can. It says spawn an. It doesn't say spawn. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. I don't know on that one. I'm going to assume no. Double fire, if you can, that's pretty damn cool. And again, this is an option off of Harvest. 3 damage is significantly better than 2 damage as well, so big buff. And this card was already like one of the best options off of Harvest, right? This is probably something you could consider just playing as a value card now. But again, it's 5 provisions. It's also bad for Saskia, so I really like this change overall. Double Fire Bowman is now 4 power. That's the little Diskies. Sees a lot of play. Used to anyway. I imagine it will now. Again, 4 power. Dealing 3 damage for 4 provisions. Pretty nice. Again, Harvest. Big buff to Harvest across the board here so far. The Vanguard. I think it's like the one that buffs by the elves, right? 2 power, 5 provisions. Man, this card is like no joke, by the way. Its powers now... No. Boost 1 by each elf in your hand, boost 1 by each elf in this row. So you can use it in the row instead. So it's just a straight up buff. So basically what that means is you can use it turn 1 for maximum points, or you could wait. Let's say you've got Location Hand, Neuromancy, Call of the Forest, Forve. Like you can then just play it as a finisher. Sick change. You're looking at 11 points for 5 provisions. Very, very good card. And that's not even considering the fact that you can obviously buff it with like, Isengrim and stuff as well, because it's an elf. Very sick. Okay, the biggest change, guys. Waylay! Oh my god. Guys, this patch is actually sick, man. There's actually so many good changes. Let's go. This patch is flipping big. Waylay. Damage an enemy by 3 and spawn an Elven Deadeye on a random row. What's the difference? You don't need Deathblow, guys. This is big. Guys, this is big. You know my like Waylay machine gun deck, which plays like 7, 8, 9 Waylays? Yeah. Yeah, it just got like 12 more points on the finisher, because what would end up happening is you're never really able to just line up like 8 threes. You would just be like ping, 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 ping. Just, you know, trying to get as many death blows as possible. Now you don't even need to worry about death blows. What you could do is if your opponent's got like a Colgrim or a Defender, you could just slam all those Waylays onto that Colgrim, onto that Defender. You don't need to play for max value. You can just, every time you're going to spawn a Deadeye. Now bear in mind as well, if you've got old matey down on the board, the guy with the pitchfork. Oh, I can't remember his name. Valadane. That's flipping 2 Deadeye. That's 2 Deadeyes per Waylay. Bruh. That deck could be popping off though still. It actually could. This is a sick change. It's obviously a buff to Feign Death as well. It's also a buff to Saskia, because Waylay is like a much more appealing option to include as a one-off tag, because you get the tactic tag. So if you're short on a tag for Saskia and you don't know what to do, Waylay's like a better option, so that's kind of cool. Big change to the Vanadane deck in particular though. It's also a buff to Sorceress of Dolblathana, I guess, because you can play Waylay off that. And that's a 6-point option. So yeah, it's a pretty big buff to the Sorceress, which also means it's buff to Bountiful Harvest. Cool. Isengrim is now 6 power. Isengrim is a sick card still. Obviously, you're boosting all your elves. It's what, 8 provisions, I want to say? Yep. You've got 2 extra points. Nice. Obviously, Isengrim, Verno getting these buffs is just cards you would want to play in this archetype. So it's good to see that they're getting buffed. Shiru. Oh, Lord. It's 10 provisions, but Inner Lung destroys itself. Mate, this huh? Guys, Shiru doesn't destroy itself. So, let's say you were to Shiru on 5, like you traditionally kind of would. That's 5 points extra that you're now getting from this play compared to before. Yeah, that's a huge buff. Also, very interestingly, before, the more points you buffed your Shiru by, the less worth it was, right? Let's say you buffed your Shiru in Invigorate. I saw Rashid do this up to like 10 points. And you Shiru'd your opponent's 10-point card. Well, okay, you removed their card, but you also lost all those points of hand buff. Now, that's just big points. Let's say you put Shiru up to like 10 points. And you manage to Shiru 2 of your opponent's cards. Bruv, that is mad amount of points. It's like 30 point swing. Jesus. Oh, Lord. Shiru could be actually a bit OP. I wonder. I do wonder. I like it, though. I do like it a lot. Milva also got buffed, which big thumbs up from me. I really like Milva in her current design. I think this card is bloody brilliant. Like, just so fun to play. Lots of mistakes happen with her, and I think that's great. She's so difficult to use, in my opinion. Unless you use her a lot. Like, yeah, I'm really happy to see this. Maybe you could have just like buffed Guerrilla Tactics instead, but it's basically the same thing. Why not just buff Milva? Cool. Big fan. Cool. Overall, I haven't really been giving ratings out of 10. The monster changes are phenomenal. Like, love it. The NR changes for like, considering there's only a few, bang, love it. Again, bear in mind, what I will preface this my complimentary praise. I love the patch notes in terms of the changes they're making. The thing that I don't like about the patch notes is the absence of balance changes to top meta decks. Top meta decks, aka alumni. Flipping alumni, man. It's not even the alumni. I just hate the archetype, mate, to be fair. But anyway, whatever. One change for Skellige. Oh no, 2. Huh? Sigfold, my boy. Did they nerf him? I swear as my camera was covering some of this text this whole time. That is 30 minutes of regret. Oops. Never mind. Sigfold adjusted the tooltip to reflect that only damage from non-status abilities is counted. Basically, before, if you were to Turgview this guy and use Rupture on it, it would actually kill him. Or it would damage him, it won't anymore. Skirmish is 5 provisions. Hallelujah. Mage Assassin is 5 provisions. Oh, Lord. Let's go. Guys. I love this. This is great. Skellige changes are probably the best changes I've ever seen. This is the best patch notes for a single faction ever. Actually, this is better. Yeah. This page here, like, I want to print it off. I want to frame it. I want to put it in the wall, and I just want to kiss it before I go to bed every night. Mwah! Beautiful. If you're wondering why, again, I talked about it before with the Siege Master. Having these cards at 4 provision just dumb down deck building so much. Just put the cards in your deck, and you're good to go. That's kind of boring. Now, do you know what else is quite big about the Skellige one in particular, guys? There's a certain card that can be played from Portal. Before it would clash with your Skirmishers, because Skirmishers are 4 provisions, but no longer. Portal Fish Flappers is back on the menu, lads. Hyperthin SK, anybody? Oof! Jeez! You best be sure that's coming out tomorrow. And yeah, obviously Nilfgaard has lost a bunch of provisions. Will it still play Mage Assassins? Like, this is the big decision. Is Discard still good enough to be played in every Skellige deck? And is Mage Assassin still good enough to be played in every Nilfgaard deck? That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like Skirm is better than Mage Assassin, just because... I don't know why. Like, Burner's really good, whereas, like, Blightmakers are decent. Like, Blightmakers are still very good, right? But also Nilfgaard, like, there's different routes you can go down, right? Like, you can play, like, Vigo, for example, which Mage Assassins, like, does make your Vigo worse. There's also, like, that 4 provision card, the Servant, which, like, locks and stuff, which doesn't really synergize with this. There's, like, Fangs of the Empire, if you wanted to go down that route. That'll be interesting. I think, like, Nilfgaard, it's a really positive change. I think Skellige is too, but I would imagine Skirm's like probably still going to see a lot of play. Yeah. Syndicate. Okay, Syndicate. Oh my god, this draft changes. What the hell? Didn't know about that. Syndicate. It looks like it's Firesworn, which, yeah, Firesworn is pretty good. It's pretty good. It just is. How good is it going to be after the changes I see? Cyrus Hemmelfart now has the Cleric tag. Alright. There's a couple cards which have, like, Cleric conditions that aren't that good, so I don't think it's a big deal, but cool. Okay, Damnation, guys. Let's talk about Damnation. Flipping heck, mate. This is a big change. Holy moly. So if you're not familiar with Damnation, previously it was like damaging 3 enemy units by 2. If you got Deathblade, spawn fires 1. No longer. Bear in mind it's a crime card, so it's +1 in line pockets as well. As is Excommunication, which got buffed to 5 provisions. I wonder if this is good enough for line pockets now. It might just be. Because also Hemmelfart's pretty good in line pockets, right? Anyway, Damnation. 6 provisions. Destroy an allied unit and create and play a 4 provision Firesworn unit. Increase the provision cost by the power of the destroyed unit. Bruh. Bruh. This means you can now officially get two Hemmelfarts, 2 Ulriches, 2 Helvetes, 2 Prophet Lebioderas, 2 Nathaniel Pastodes. You get me? More Fallen Knights as well, obviously. So, wow. If you destroy a 1 power card, you get a 4 provision card. If you destroy a, increase the provision cost by the power. Oh, so you can't get 4 provisions. So basically, if you hit Firesworn Zealot, a 2 strength card, you get a 6 provision Firesworn card, aka Fallen Knight Procession of Penance. Pretty mad. So you would just need, well, 2, 3. If you destroy 3, you get one of these. Not Damnation, obviously you get Pistodi. Destroy 4, you get Sacred Flame unit? Unit, right? Just a unit. Yeah, it's just a unit. Is it just bronze? No. Cool. So, yeah, 8, you'd get like 1 Smurf. 9, man, it's gone bad. 2. So if it's a 2, you get Fallen Knight. If it's 3, you get Pistodi. If it's 3, oh my god. Maths is so hard, man. Honestly, guys, I probably should just pause and take a sip of my coffee that's been sitting here for 37 minutes waiting for me to take a sip of it. So I only just woke up, as you could probably tell. Lukewarm. Lovely. Von Hurst. So he's going to be one of those options still here. Because he's still 4 power 8 provisions. At the end of your turn, if you control a cleric, spawn a Firesworn Zealot in this row. Fee 1, transform a Firesworn Zealot into a Flaming Wrist Footman. So it keeps the fee. Instead of the Horde synergy with like hidden cash. So you could argue it's enough to hidden cash. If you control a cleric, you spawn a Firesworn Zealot this row. So it's like spawning 1 card per turn if you have a cleric. Which we're going to call the clerics in a minute. Obviously, Hemmelfart just became, or got given that tag too. Rodders is now 6 provisions. So he's also going to be an option off of Damnation. At 6. That's all that changed with him. Freak Show's 8 provisions. Oh! Let's go. This is what I want more of, man. You guys remember when Ku changed from 9 provisions to 10? And Brathan's changed from 10 to 11. And now they've done Freak Show from 7 to... Yes, lads. This is what I'm talking about. These are the changes we want. I just wish we had more of these. Like flipping Alumni goes from 6 provisions to 17 provisions. Cleric of the Flame Rose. Prophet changed from 2 to 3. Is that this guy? This is also a massive buff. Because you do actually want to play this card a lot of the time. Because it's a spender. A really good spender, by the way. 1 coin for like 1 point plus 1 armor is pretty damn good. But it's also a tribute card which spawns. It goes wide. It's a cleric. Yeah. Tribute, obviously King of Beggars. Still OP, to be honest. So, yeah. Cool. Nice change. Eternal Fire Disciple. Now it's cleric tag as well. And fee change from 2 to 1. Bruh. Big change. This is huge. You're now just spending... This is such a big change, actually. Because you're now just spending 1 coin to spawn a Zealot. So, it's a super insanely efficient spender. So you're going to be playing 2 of these in every single one of your Firesworn decks now, without doubt. Yeah, there's a huge amount of points that this card just got. It was already pretty good, but it's now popping off. Eternal Fire Inquisitor. So this geezer's a 5 provision card at the moment, which you've never heard of. It's a cleric as well, by the way. And it is now 4 provisions, and it's now 4 power. So it got a point and 1 provision less. And its ability, previously it was damaging enemy by 2, death blow, spawn a Firesworn Zealot. Destroy a Firesworn token, then boost yourself by 4. After 2 turns, spawn a base copy of the destroyed token on this row. Okay, so let's just talk about points. It's 4 power, it's 4 provisions, and you destroy something and boost up by 4, so it's 8 points. Because that token is then going to come back later, which also has spawn synergy, right? Like, let's say you have, you could time this with a Fallen Knight, for example, right? Let's say you play your Inquisitor turn 1 or whatever, or maybe turn 2, because you need a token on the board, right? Then the following turn, you play a Fallen Knight, and then the token's going to spawn itself back, which is going to buff your Fallen Knight from 4 power to 5 power, which makes it more difficult to remove. This card is probably auto-include as a 2 of in your Firesworn decks at 4 provisions. Really, really, very, very good. Very good indeed. Obviously, it becomes even more points if your tokens are damaged. Let's say you've got a 1-point Zealot, 2-point Footman, 1-point Footman. It becomes even more points because you spawn a base copy of said token. Cool. You can also, like, in some of the decks that I played with Townsfolk, right? This could also just be a way to free up some board space, potentially. Kind of, not really. I guess it's not really freeing up board space, to be fair, because it's taking up a spot itself. Lonely Champion, also, the final change, this is the immune geezer that I've only ever played pretty much against Bane when he had Lambert, and I played it too late, so all my Zealots got Lamberted anyway. Lonely Champion, ability change to immunity. Zeal Order, destroy all Firesworn tokens on this row, then boost self by their total power, and it's got a cooldown of 2. It's pretty sick. Gotta give him a cooldown, so it's not just like a one and done kind of jobby. It's like, actually, if you're swarming too much, this is like just constantly sucking up all the juice from the row whenever you want it to. Cool. For Syndicate, main goal 10.3 is to bring some attention to the Firesworn Swarm archetype. With new Damnation play, mate, this Damnation card scares the life out of me, to be honest. We'll be able to get additional Fallen Knight or other Firesworn card, any other Firesworn unit, depending on how much they're willing to sacrifice. Moreover, Damnation allows you to play a unit without losing board space. That's cool, yeah. Von Hurst has lost the Hawk condition. We now want to spawn Zealots if you control Cleric. Lonely Champion can help with board space in a much more flexible way. New turn. Yeah, cool. Draft changes. All right. Draft? Guys, are we going to actually try draft? Guys, if you want me to try draft, let me know. All evolving cards are now acquired in the base version. Nature package removed Orb of Insight from the bench package. Good. Nice. That makes sense. Pre-buff package. Replace the Saboteur with Circle of Life. Agitator of Bountiful Harvest in pre-buff package. Spells. Neutral package removed Undying Thirst and Surrender. Yeah. They're not spells. So that's good. Foglets! Oh my god. Wow. It actually happened, guys. Alright, guys. Fair play. They're actually doing it. They've removed it. They removed it from flipping beta, and I was a little bit critical of that decision. But if it's, you know, mate, they're doing it. They're doing it, guys. It's hard to get excited about it, but it's something. Yeah, you know. If you're moaning about it, you got to be positive about it too. Like, I think draft mode's sick, potentially. I just need a rank playlist and ability to play against friends. And, yeah, to fix the packages. A lot of my other big problem with draft mode, I can do a whole video on it, it's probably a better time, is the key cards. They need updating, mate. That would be my next like thing that I think they really need to sort out is the key cards. The key cards are trash, mate. You get some awful key cards. They should be looking at giving key cards to stuff like King of Beggars, Hemelfart, like these newer cards, right? But instead it's like flipping Kaer Seren, the location from Northern Realms. How's that a key card? Old Spear Tip has been removed from packages. Raid package removed Whale Harpooner. Bounce package removed Dire Hounds. Vitality package removed Shani. Oh my lord. Create package replace Adalia with Philavandrel. That's good because she no longer works on any card. It's only NR cards. Raid package removed Blood Eagle. Rain package replaced Offering the Sea with Fukusha. Okay, nice. This is, again, like a key card kind of thing, right? That you could have. Rain package replaced Hermit with Messenger of the Sea. Rain package replaced Half-Through Singer with Little Half-Through. Cool. Alright. Yeah. Overall, my opinions on the patch notes. I'm going to give it a solid... I'm going to give what's in the patch notes a 9.5 out of 10. Because I think it's great. In particular, I love the changes to Skirmishers, Mage Assassins, Siege Masters, Freak Show. I just want to see a little bit more nerfs. So in terms of the actual content of the changes, like the Wild Hunt, all that, I'm going to give it a 9.5. Maybe would have liked to have seen a few more neutral changes, right? Like maybe to some of like the neutral witches, maybe like Eskel or so. I don't know, whatever it might be. Triangle within the triangle change is cool. Maybe a couple more neutral changes because they can have a big impact. But now, to be fair, like the actual content of it is really huge. I also just really like the direction they're going, where they're really focusing on specific archetypes, where they're not scared to like not do anything in a certain faction. Like that's great. It makes a big difference. Like we've seen Self Ruined as like an actual deck. Now Firesworn is looking like a real deck. You know, Elves, Consume, Wild Hunt. Like I think that's great. So I'm giving the patch notes overall 9.5 out of 10 for what's in them. But for what's not in them, I'm going to give them a 7. I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of changes in this that I'm really, really over the moon to see. It's just, I personally, there's a few decks, particularly Alumni, to be honest, that I just can't bloody stand. And I wish got deleted from the deck 6, 7, 8 months ago, right? From the game. That's just my opinion. Overall, I think it's a great patch. I really do. And I'm pleased that they've also like nerfed stuff like Mage Assassin, Horson's Freak Show. I just wouldn't, you know, be against seeing more nerfs, basically. But yeah, cool. Good job, CDPR. And guys, also this flipping where at change, mate. Jeez. Let's go. Big up. That's so cool that they actually listened to me on that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Me ranting and rambling, not drinking my coffee, having my camera in the way. If you like this format of patch notes video, it was longer than a lot of the other ones I've done. A lot of the other ones I do on stream and I kind of rush through it. This time I did it off stream, just in one take, but it took my time. If you enjoyed this style of video, let me know. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you on the stream, I guess. Deuces.